Book 3, The Flamebringers, in which Moonglum returns from the Eastlands with disturbing news. Bloody-beaked hawks soared on the frigid wind. They soared high above a mounted horde, inexorably moving across the weeping waste. The horde had crossed 2 deserts and 3 mountain ranges to be there, and hunger drove them onwards. They were spurred on by remembrances of stories heard from travellers who had come to their eastern homelands, by the encouragements of their thin-lipped leader who swaggered in his saddle ahead of them, one arm wrapped around a 10-foot lance decorated with the gory trophies of his pillaging campaigns. The riders moved slowly and wearily, unaware that they were nearing their goal. Far behind the horde, a stocky rider left Elric, the singing, boisterous capital of the eastern world, and came soon to a valley. The hard skeletons of trees had a blighted look, and the horse kicked earth the colour of ashes as its rider drove it fiercely through the sick wasteland that had once been gentle Eshmere, the golden garden of the east. A plague had smitten Eshmere, and the locust had stripped her of her beauty. Both plague and locust went by the same name, Tiraan-Gashtek, lord of the mountain hordes, sunken-faced carrier of destruction. Tiraan-Gashtek, insane blood-drawer, the shrieking Flamebringer. And that was his other name, Flamebringer. The rider who witnessed the evil that Tiraan-Gashtek had brought to gentle Eshmere was named Moonglum. Moonglum was riding now for Elric by the Weeping Waste, the last outpost of the Western civilization of which those in the Eastlands knew little. In Elric, Moonglum knew he would find Elric of Melniboné, who now dwelt permanently in his wife's graceful city. Moonglum was desperate to reach Elric quickly, to warn Elric and to solicit his help. He was small and cocky, with a broad mouth and a shock of red hair. But now his mouth did not grin, and his body was bent over the horse as he pushed it on towards Elric. For Eshmere, gentle Eshmere, had been Moonglum's home province, and with his ancestors had formed him into what he was. So, cursing, Moonglum rode for Elric. But so did Tiraan-Gashtek, and already the Flamebringer had reached the Weeping Waste. The horde moved slowly, for they had wagons with them which at one time dropped far behind, but now the supplies they carried were needed. As well as provisions, one of the wagons carried a bound prisoner who lay on his back, cursing Tiraan-Gashtek and his slant-eyed battle-mongers. Drinage Bara was bound by more than strips of leather, and that was why he cursed, for Drinage Bara was a sorcerer who could not normally be held in such a manner. If he had not succumbed to his weakness for wine and woman just before the Flamebringer had come down on the town in which he was staying, he would not have been trussed so. And Tiraan-Gashtek would not now have Drinage Bara's soul. Drinage Bara's soul reposed in the body of a small black cat, the cat which Tiraan-Gashtek had caught and carried with them always, for, as was the habit of Eastern sorcerers, Drinage Bara had hidden his soul in the body of the cat for protection. Because of this, he was now slave to the lord of the mountain's hordes, and had to obey him, lest the man slay the cat, and so send his soul to hell. It was not a pleasant situation for the proud sorcerer, but he did not deserve less. There was on the pale face of Elric of Melniboné some slight trace of an earlier haunting, but his mouth smiled, and his crimson eyes were at peace as he looked down at the young black-haired woman with whom he walked in the terraced gardens of Calarc. "Elric," said Zaratsinia, "have you found your happiness?" He nodded. "I think so. Stormbringer now hangs amid cobwebs in your father's armoury. The drugs I discovered in Trews keep me strong, my eyesight clear, and need to be taken only occasionally. I need never think of travelling or fighting again. I am content here to spend my time with you and study the books in Calarc's library. What more would I require?" "You compliment me overmuch, my lord. I would become complacent." He laughed. "Rather that than you were doubting. Do not fear, Zaratsinia. I possess no reason now to journey on. Moonglum I miss, but it was natural that he should become restless of residence in a city and wish to revisit his homeland. I'm glad you're at peace, Elric. My father was at first reluctant to let you live here, fearing the black evil that once accompanied you. But 3 months have proved to him behind that the evil has gone and left no fuming berserker with it. Suddenly there came a shouting from below them. In the street a man's voice was raised, and he banged at the gates of the house. "Let me in, damn you, I must speak with your master." A servant came running. "Lord Elric, there is a man at the gates with a message. He pretends friendship with you." "His name?" "An alien one, Moonglum, he says." "Moonglum? His stay in Elwhere has been short. Let him in." Zaratsinia's eyes held a trace of fear. She held Elric's arm fiercely. "Elric, pray he does not bring news to take you hence." "Well, no news could do that. Fear not, Zaratsinia." He hurried out of the garden and into the courtyard of the house. Moonglum rode hurriedly through the gates, dismounting as he did so. "Moonglum, my friend, why the haste? Naturally I'm pleased to see you after such a short time, but you've been riding hastily. Why?" The little Eastlander's face was grim beneath its coating of dust, and his clothes were filthy from hard riding. "The Flamebringer comes with sorcery to aid him," he panted. "You must warn the city." "The Flamebringer? The name means nothing. You sound delirious, my friend." "Aye, it's true I am, delirious with hate. He destroyed my homeland, killed my family, my friends, and now plans conquest in the west. 2 years ago he was little more than an ordinary desert raider, but then he began to gather a great horde of barbarians around him, and has been looting and slaying his way across the eastern lands. Only Elwhere has not suffered from his attacks, for the city was too great for even him to take. But he has turned 2,000 miles of pleasant country into a burning waste. He plans world conquest, rides westward with 500,000 warriors." "You mentioned sorcery. What does this barbarian know of such sophisticated arts?" "Little himself, but he has one of our greatest wizards in his power, Drinage Bara. The man was captured as he lay drunk between 2 wenches in a cavern in Foom. He had put his soul into the body of a cat so that no rival sorcerer might steal it while he slept. But Taran-Gash-Tek, the Flamebringer, knew of this trick, seized the cat and bound its legs, eyes and mouth, so imprisoning Drinage Bara's evil soul. And now the sorcerer is his slave. If he does not obey the barbarian, the cat will be killed by an iron blade, and Drinage Bara's soul will go to hell." "Well, these are unfamiliar sorceries to me," said Elric. "They seem little more than superstitions." "Well, who knows what they may be, but so long as Drinage Bara believes what he believes, he will do as Taran-Gash-Tek dictates. Several proud cities have become destroyed with the aid of his magic." "And how far away is this Flamebringer?" 3 days' ride at most. I was forced to come hence by a longer route to avoid his outriders." "Well, then we must prepare for a siege." "No, Elric, you must prepare to flee." "To flee? Should I request the citizens of Karlach to leave their beautiful city unprotected, to leave their homes? If they will not, you must, and take your bride with you. None can stand against such a foe. Or my own sorcery is no mean thing. One man's sorcery is not enough to hold back 500,000 men also aided by sorcery. And Karlach is a trading city, not a warrior's fortress. Very well. I will speak to the council of elders. Try to convince them. Well, you must convince them quickly, Elric, for if you do not, Karlach will not stand half a day before Teran Gashtek's howling bloodletters. They are stubborn, said Elric, as the two sat in his private study later that night. They refuse to realise the magnitude of the danger. They refuse to leave, and I cannot leave them, for they have welcomed me and made me a citizen of Karlach. Then we must stay here and die? Perhaps. There seems to be no choice. But I have another plan. You say that the sorcerer is a prisoner of Teran Gashtek. What would he do if he regained his soul? Why, he would take vengeance upon his captor. But Teran Gashtek would not be so foolish as to give him the chance. There is no help for us there. And what if we managed to aid Drinajbara? How? It would be impossible. Well, it seems our only chance. Does this barbarian know of me or my history? Not as far as I know. Would he recognise you? Why would he? Well, then I suggest we join him. Join him? Elric, you are no more sane than when we rode as free travellers together. I know what I am doing. It would be the only way to get close to him and discover a subtle way to defeat him. We will set off at dawn. There is no time to waste. Very well, but let's hope your old luck is good. I doubt it now, for you've forsaken your old ways, and the luck went with them. Well, let us find out. Will you take Stormbringer? I had hoped never to have to make use of that hell-forged blade again. She's a treacherous sword at best. Aye, but I think you'll need her in this business. Yes, you are right. I'll take her. Elric frowned, his hands clenched. It will mean breaking my word to Sarrasinia. Better to break it than to give her up to the mounted hordes. Elric unlocked the door to the armoury, a pitch torch flaring in one hand. He felt sick as he strode down the narrow passage lined with dulled weapons which had not been used for a century. His heart pounded heavily as he came to another door and flung off the bar to enter the little room in which lay the disused regalia of Karlach's long-dead war chieftains, and Stormbringer. The black blade began to moan as if welcoming him, as he took a deep breath of the musty air and reached for the sword. He clutched the hilt, and his body was racked by an unholy sensation of awful ecstasy. His face twisted as he sheathed the blade, and he almost ran from the armoury towards cleaner air. Elric and Moonglum mounted their plainly equipped horses and, garbed like common mercenaries, bade urgent farewell to the councillors of Karlach. Sarrasinia kissed Elric's pale hand. I realise the need for this, she said, her eyes full of tears. But take care, my love. I shall, and pray that we are successful in whatever we decide to do. The white gods be with you. No, pray to the lords of the darks, for it is their evil help I'll need in this work. Forget not my words to the messenger who is to ride to the southwest and find Divim Slorm. I'll not forget, she said, though I worry lest you succumb again to your old black ways. Fear for the moment. I'll worry about my own fate later. Then farewell, my lord, and be lucky. Farewell, Terratinia. My love for you will give me more power even than this foul blade here. He spurred his horse through the gates, and then they were riding for the Weeping Waste and a troubled future.